This is Robert Price of the Bakersfield Californian, and you're watching TBC Media's coverage of the 2018 primary election and our series of video interviews with candidates for contested offices in Kern County and the southern San Joaquin Valley. Today I'm with reporter James Berger and Melissa Hurtado, one of three Democrats challenging the incumbent Republican Vandy Vidak for the 14th State Senate District seat on June the 5th. The top two finishers in that four-way race, regardless of party, will advance to the November 6th general election. The 14th State Senate District covers portions of Fresno, Kings, Tulare, and Kern County, including the cities of Arvin, Delano, McFarland, Shafter, Wasco, and a substantial portion of Bakersfield. It is 71% Latino, and Democrats enjoy a 20% registration advantage over Republicans. Melissa Hurtado, a member of the Sanger City Council and a healthcare advocate, and I'm sure you can tell us about that. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you so much for having me here today, Robert.
Tell us about yourself.
So just a little bit about myself. I live in Sanger. I currently sit on the Sanger City Council. I am a health advocate, but I have taken a step back from my health advocacy work to make sure that I run a successful campaign for the Senate District 14. And, I've been advocating to make sure that consumers are protected from rising, healthcare premiums, and making sure that health insurance and healthcare remains affordable, and making sure that we also expand healthcare over the last couple of years. And so I've been advocating on those issues here in the Central Valley, and also working on the Sanger City Council, trying to make things better, trying to make sure that we bring more jobs into the city. The district and the city of Sanger itself, we could use more jobs. We have, pretty high unemployment rate, and jobs are key to make sure that we have, thriving communities. And so that's why I decided to run for state senate, and, it's all about the jobs.
Real quick, give us a little bio, educational bio.
So I went to, public school in the city of Sanger, and then after high school, I decided to go to Cal State Sacramento, and I received my bachelor's in government, and I also minored in philosophy.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, tell us about the Sanger City Council. What sorts of things have you achieved on the council? What have you learned? What kind of progress have you made?
Well, what I've learned on the Sanger City Council is that, you have to be able to work with your colleagues. You have to be able to find the issues that are important to the community, making sure that you frequently communicate with your community, with the voters, and that you find that common ground, because there's going to be a lot of differences of opinion when it comes to different issues. And so it's finding the common ground and moving and driving that policy forward. And things can get divisive, but at the end of the day, it's about our community, it's about the issues that are important to us, and we have to make sure that we move those issues forward, and that takes teamwork. And so some of the things that I've worked on the Sanger City Council is saving jobs, creating high-wage jobs. I'm not sure if many of you have heard, but Initiative Foods was a company that burned down. So making sure that they stayed here in the Central Valley, that they stayed in the city of Sanger was something that was really important to me. And so I wanted to make sure that we did everything that we could to make sure that they stayed there, that the jobs stayed there. And now they're rebuilding. They're going to create jobs, and they're going to create jobs that pay above minimum wage. And that's the type of workforce that we need here in the Central Valley to make sure that we thrive.
A lot of issues in the 14th district, many of them associated with poverty, and we can talk about some of those issues. But your expertise is in healthcare. Tell us, first of all, a little bit about what the challenges are as far as healthcare is concerned in the 14th district.
So as far as healthcare is concerned, one of the things that has been successful is that we passed the Affordable Care Act. And I know that's a federal issue, but it has really made it a significant impact here in the state of California, and specifically in the Central Valley. The passage of the Affordable Care Act to the Central Valley, to Senate District 14, means that significant amount of number of people are now covered under insurance, have access to health care. And so, more than 50% of the Central Valley of Senate District 14 rely on Medi-Cal. So making sure that we continue to receive the funds from the federal government is key. Making sure that that the Affordable Care Act is not sabotaged is key to this district, to making sure that they have access to health care. But there's also a lot of other issues that I've come across that could be addressed, that need to be addressed. And one of those is access to emergency services. I know, like in the city of Sanger, for example, we don't have a hospital, but at some point we did have a hospital. So if we want to, if we have an emergency, we'd have to drive, 20 or 30 minutes to the nearest hospital to make sure that we get services, and really it's a matter of life and death, and that's something that I hear throughout the district. It's what I've heard in Delano and other parts of the district that are really of concern. So there's still a lot of work that can be done, that needs to be done, that's really specific and unique to the Central Valley and to our district, that you really don't really find those issues and concerns in other parts of California.
Housing, I know, is a big issue in the 14th district. What are your thoughts on that?
So my thoughts on housing is that, there's opportunity for us to create jobs in that process. I know there was a package signed by Governor Jerry Brown not too long ago, and to make sure that we incentivize affordable housing. And I think that's key here in our district. I also believe that we have to make sure that people have to have jobs in order to be able to purchase homes. They need to remain affordable, and we do have a high percentage of rental properties, and so we want to make sure that we provide those opportunities for the district so that they can go from renting to purchasing a home. And so I also know that the price to purchase a home or to purchase property here in Senate District 14 is relatively low compared to other parts of the state. But when you really compare it, to what people make here in the Central Valley, it's actually more expensive than San Francisco and Los Angeles. And so, the key here is jobs and making sure that we have good paying jobs so that people can purchase homes and live and achieve their American dream.
Yeah. Editor Jim Lawitz has a question for us, I believe.
Melissa. If I live in Bakersfield, why should I vote for someone who lives in Sanger?
Thank you for that question. Well, we're one big family here in the Central Valley in Senate District 14. A lot of the issues that we face in Sanger are very similar to the issues that we face here in Bakersfield. There's really a lot of parallels when it comes to poverty, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to education. We have the same issues. The numbers are against us, and so why should someone from Bakersfield vote for me that's located in Sanger? Well, I've communicated with voters as a council member, and I plan to do so as a state senator, and making sure that I communicate with voters here in Bakersfield. And I believe in accountability, and I believe in making sure that we communicate frequently with voters, and we know their issues, and we drive those issues. And so the issues that we face are very similar, and that's why I believe that Bakersfield voters should vote for me.
It kind of segues into a question I had for you.
Sure.
The state of California is, in a couple ways, two different states. The Democrats, the Republicans. Democrats, of course, enjoy a supermajority here. So if you go to Sacramento, you'll have a lot of friends in the Democratic Party there. But you will also find yourself in a situation where there's a divide between rural and urban. San Francisco and Los Angeles, huge urban centers, very wealthy urban centers, and the Central Valley, has been called, the Mississippi of the West. A lot of poverty, a lot of health issues. You know what the issues are.
Right.
How do you get the big shots in Sacramento to listen to the concerns of the Central Valley?
Well, I think it's important to make sure that that people in Sacramento, that other legislators in Sacramento know our issues, that they understand our issues, and it's educating them on our issues here. If it means having to bring them down to our district and giving them a tour, having them speak with voters, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that they understand and they hear, and that every time that they make a decision on a certain vote, on a certain piece of legislation, that in their minds they're thinking, well, how will this impact Senate District 14? Because that's not going through the minds of people. Maybe it is to some, I don't know, but what I do know is that that's something that should be kept in mind. And so I will make sure that that I communicate frequently and, educate, people in Sacramento and our legislators about the issues that we face here. And if it means for them to come down here and invite them, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that they know about our issues, and that when they make a decision on legislation, that they're making it based on how will this impact Senate District 14, because we rank, at the bottom when it comes to, our unemployment rate. We rank at the bottom when it comes to poverty. So, that's something that really needs to be considered in Sacramento.
Oh, James Burke has a question.
So, this, connecting thematically with voters is something that you can do. As you said, that there's a lot of issues that are similar across the 14th district, but practically you have to find out a way to build a campaign structure that can bring in enough money and bring in enough support from people to get on voters' doorstep and really connect with them. How are you doing that?
It's communication. It's talking to people that I know, talking to people that I don't know, people that here in Bakersfield, just randomly, and telling them about this race and why it's important. Talking about our issues, right? Going back to it, and I based on and also I think the fact that the work that I've done here in the Central Valley, the networks and the connections that I've made because of my job in healthcare and as an advocate, I have a lot of networks that have helped with raising money, with getting my name out there, and I think that's key when it comes to making sure that voters in Senate District 14 know who I am, what I've done, what I've accomplished, and what my vision is. And really my vision is a vision of the voters here in the Senate District 14.
So to do that, I've heard different political philosophies of how you run in a very geographically large district like 14 is, with a lot of small communities. Do you concentrate on the Delanos and Hanfords and the larger communities with high concentrations of Democratic voters, or do you try to hit all the communities and really connect on a broad level with voters?
Well, for me, it's really a combination of both, because I don't want to leave any voice left out of this, and. But I also recognize that we have limited time, we have limited resources, but my goal is to reach every voter possible. When I ran for city council, that's what I did. I walked my district 3 times, and I tried to reach out to every voter that I could, Republican, Democrat. To me, there was no such thing as demographics or density. It really was about truly understanding more than I already know the district that I was running for, but also to get an understanding and perspective from the voters that I was looking to represent. And that's the goal for this race. I want to hear from everyone. Everyone is important in this, in this campaign. It's, I like to see it as the campaign of Senate District 14, because, now is the time to make sure that we have a say in what happens in Sacramento and the decisions that are made, and, making sure that we get our fair share. And, in order to be an effective, representative, I need to make sure that I hear the voices from as many voters as possible. So that's my goal, and that's what I'm looking to do.
Practically in this race, Andy Videk's an incumbent. He's the only Republican. He has a fair shot at getting into the November general election. So really, you're facing three other Democrats and trying to reach out and distinguish yourself and make a name for yourself across this district. How do you feel that you are best suited of those three to really challenge VIDEC in the November? Why, and how are you going to make sure the voters know that?
So I believe that I have, the networks across the district more than the other two candidates in this race. I've also been able to raise the most amount of money than, in the shorter amount of time than the other two candidates. And I understand a lot of the issues because I deal with a variety of issues on the city council. I don't just deal with, professionally I deal with healthcare, but on the city council we deal with issues dealing from homelessness to substance abuse in the community, a lot of a variety of issues that I don't see the other candidates, even our current senator really coming across like I do. So the money factor, the recognition, my experience on the council, my experience as a health advocate, my experience as working on policy, I believe that's really what makes me stand out and what really I think can make me successful in running against the current incumbent.
Jim Lawitz has another question.
So what does it mean, you've made this reference a few times, what is a healthcare advocate and exactly what do you do?
So a healthcare advocate, that means basically it's a combination of advocacy work, dealing with policy, so making sure that consumers are protected in the healthcare sector, both at the state and the federal level. So that means visits to delegation visits to congressional offices. That means delegation visits to state assembly offices across the valley. It also means organizing, making sure that that I can communicate with people, with the community, and inform them about what's going on in regards to healthcare.
Who pays your salary?
So at the moment, I took leave from work at the beginning of March, but I was employed by Health Access California.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you went to Cal State Sacramento, I believe you said at the beginning. Did you grow up saying, I want to go into public service and that I want to be a politician? Or what led you to this spot?
So it really all began in high school. There was a lot of, immigration issues at that time in the media, just like there is today. And there was student walkouts at that time. So it was a combination of that with also being a student that was part of the Upward Bound program at Cal State Fresno. And so we were also having problems with funding, and we did a trip to Sacramento one day and to lobby and rally and protest. So all the students from Upward Bound across the state got together at Sacramento. And I got this feeling of empowerment of, hey, like, if we do this, we can make change. And it was, I think, at that moment that I said, this is what I want to do. I want to make change. I want to make change for my community. And so, when I went to Cal State Sacramento, I was very active in trying to learn as much as I can politically, and even then, like, I knew I was involved in politics, but I never thought that I would run for office. And moving back and seeing the issues that we face and the unemployment rates, and I had no other option than to run to try to solve some of these problems, and that's the reason why I ran for city council, and that's the reason why I'm running for state senate.
So you believe that you can accomplish more from the inside than from the outside, if I'm understanding correctly, if you are successful in the primary bid and then successful in November. What's the end game here? Where do you expect to be 5 years, 10 years? What do you want to do?
Well, I think we just need to continue working towards making sure that our communities thrive. And so I think that the biggest challenge here in Senate District 14 is jobs. And I think that I really don't believe that it's something that just needs to be worked on through the inside. And I mean, I've been working on these issues on healthcare and jobs through the outside, right? And I think that voter involvement in these issues is key. But I also think that we could do more. And right now, we're not getting the Senate District 14 is not getting its fair share.
Fair
and
enough.
so, I think that I have the ability. I'm able to work with people from all sorts of backgrounds, and I've proved that on the city council. I proved that as a health advocate, as a community organizer, and I know that I can do that as state senator to make sure that we have our fair share.
So, final question for me. When the campaign finance reports come out in the next couple of weeks, who are we going to see as your biggest donor?
Well, actually, my biggest donor right now is Assemblymember Dr. Joaquin Arambla.
Is there a connection there?
He's my current assembly member, and he's endorsed me in this campaign, and he's seen me at work, advocating for the community on healthcare, and has seen the work that I've done on the city council. So I think it was easy for him to say, yes, I support you. I think you'd be great, a great advocate for this district. And so not only did he say, did he commit his word to supporting me in this race, but he also did it financially.
You mentioned briefly earlier immigration. This is an interesting time for immigration, as you know. The federal government has taken a different approach than has been taken in a long time. California, sanctuary state, very much at odds with Washington, and you've got sort of, many undocumented people live within the 14th district. Also, so many growers that rely on these people as employees. Break it down for us. What's your views on that?
I frankly believe that we're living in a scary time because when it comes to immigration, I know that farmers. I've heard from a lot of people that we need workers. We need farm workers, and in Fowler, in Sanger, there's been scares about ICE coming in and taking people. We've also seen what happened in Delano, and I believe that people should be given the opportunity to work and a pathway to citizenship. And it just hurts our district, in so many ways. And so I'm concerned about what's going on and how the things that are going on in Washington are kind of coming here. And really, what we're trying to do is protect our hardworking immigrant community, and it benefits them, and it benefits our agricultural economy, and that's something that's key to this district. And so it's really a scary time where people are losing their lives because of scares in Delano, or losing workforce. That hurts our local economy, and at the end of the day, that's we need to be looking at it, from all sides and not just from one angle. But the biggest problem I think that I see is it's very red or blue. And when it comes to our district, when it comes to immigration, when it comes to agriculture, it's not red or blue, it's purple. This is our district, this is our economy, and the decisions or the rhetoric that is occurring it's hurting us.
Have you had a chance to reach out to any growers, or have they reached out to you and talked about this issue? People who are very well maybe Republicans who nevertheless have an issue here. Have you?
I've spoken with a couple. Mostly the conversations that I have at the Latino Roundtable, that I've heard from other mayors and council members, and what they've heard from farmers and growers, and how, and also they had a press conference not too long ago, and outside of the Fowler Packing, and how they're losing, they're losing workers, and I've also heard that from actual workers where they're afraid to go to work because they're afraid of being taken away from their families, and all they want to do is make a check, be able to provide for their families, and it's just a very unfortunate thing that's going on.
Oh, James, you've got a question, I think.
Yeah, this district and indeed the 21st congressional district are kind of unique districts. You kind of talked to them about them being purple. These are Latino Democratic districts, but they're represented by Republicans. How does that speak to kind of the who the people of the district are, and how do you run and communicate with people who might be registered as a Democrat, but might be a little bit more conservative socially or otherwise, and really kind of this diverse purple district?
So really, it comes down just to talking about our issues, our common issues that we share, and I've seen Democrats that are more on the conservative side that some would say. I mean, I kind of considered myself to be there in the middle, and so I've also seen Republicans that are also down the middle as well, and we need to stop looking at it from the red and the blue. We need to start looking at it about our district and our issues. And when you have those conversations, I've seen, I've been able to connect, with a lot of people. I'm happy to say that I have support from the mayor of Sanger and the mayor pro tem, and they're both registered Republicans. And the conversations from them are, we love our city, and we want the best person in that seat, and you have shown to work hard to make sure that that we make our city better, and I'm sure that you'll do the same in the state Senate.
You've made clear your differences with the incumbent, but you're running against two Democrats. Why are you the best choice among those three? So
kind of as I touched a little bit on earlier, I have policy experience, working on healthcare, working, my time on the city council. I know that at least one candidate hasn't held public office in the past. I think that's I think it's really important actually when it comes to running for the state Senate, because you got to have an understanding of the policy issues when it comes to our district. And my experience working for SEIU, working on state policy issues, representing state employees, my familiarity with the state budget and whatnot. I think that's really what puts me aside, or kind of distinguishes me from the other two candidates.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your time. For joining us, Melissa Hurtado. I'm Robert Price of the Bakersfield Californian, and thank you for watching this TBC Media video profiling candidates in the 2018 primary elections 14th Senate District race. Check back at Bakersfield.com for more videos on more candidates and other offices. Thanks for joining us.